Hyoma is a young child that can only watch in disbelief as the blood of his brother and sister slowly, yet continuously, flows from a large monster's weapons. His brother tries to warn Hyoma to run, but the horror has rooted Hyoma to the ground, and the monster attacks him. With his brother's dying breath, his brother throws a magical disc, blocking the enemy's attack and saving Hyoma, except for a slight cut beneath his left eye. The monster attacks him again, but his sister sends Hyoma flying back out of harm's way with their own magic disc. His sister smiles as the monster slowly sinks underground with his siblings' bodies with it. There are beings called Mary Bito that come from a dimension called the spirit world. However, they occasionally leave their own world and accidentally stumble into the human world. These spiritual beings can possess objects in the human world, giving them a physical form and changing them into beings called Tsukumogami. The Cinema clan exists to guide these lost beings, and one of the three families in the Cinema clan is the Kunado family, with Hyoma Kunado as the next family head. A few years have passed, and Hyoma is now a teenager. The wound under his left eye is now only a scar that reminds him of his painful past. Equipped with the magical discs his siblings used to save him, Hyoma is following in his siblings' footsteps. In an alley in the city, an old man interacts with Tsukumogami while two policemen are watching. One policeman is a veteran, while the other is a rookie. The old man takes care of a large strange monster, and the veteran policeman explains to his rookie co-worker that, like them, the old man is also one of the keepers of order in this town. However, unlike them, who protect the city against normal hooligans and thugs, the old man protects the city from things that lie outside common sense. The old man recognizes the Tsukumogami as a spirit that accidentally wandered into the human world and possessed a coin, thus getting itself a body. He then asks the coin Tsukumogami to bend over to accept his seal. The coin Tsukumogami kneels, and the old man presses a symbol into him, bathing him in light and sealing him into a vessel. After the ritual, the old man explains that all he needs to do is give the vessel a memorial service to send it back to the world, and it's over. He introduces himself as Zohei Kameto, a member of the mystical task force department called Sonoma Clan. The veteran policeman asks Mr. Zohei Kunato if his grandson, who chased another Tsukumogami, will be okay, but Mr. Kunato explains that his grandson is also a pro too. They typically deal with Tsukumogami through peaceful conversations, as it's a more amicable way of settling things with them. As such, they are shocked to see that Hyoma Kunato casually punches the Tsukumogami he followed into the wall. After incapacitating the large Tsukumogami, Hyoma proceeds to seal the Tsukumogami into a vessel. The police ask if such a procedure can really be called a peaceful conversation, but the old Mr. Kunato just explains that he used body language. He then warns the policeman that if any more creatures like that appear, they should just inform the Sonoma clan. Zohei then calls up another house of the Sonoma clan and asks for help regarding Hyoma's violent attitude. That night, Zohei talks to his grandson about his violent performance with Tsukumogamis. Hyoma explains that since the opponent has only been a Tsukumogami for a short period of time and has not yet mastered handling its new body, the Tsukumogami might be dangerous. Therefore, before any damage could be done, Hyoma made the first move and killed it. It was rough, but Hyoma believes that it was in line with his duty as Sonoma and the next head of the Kunato family. However, his grandfather rejects his excuses and scolds him for always rushing in without a second thought. Zohei explains that brute force should only be done as the last possible resort. Mary Bito are generally the ones being spirited away into the human world. They are confused with their new, unfamiliar surroundings when they turn into Tsukumogami. How they deal with this change varies. While it's true that some spirits are evil, there are also spirits that merely want to go back home. There are even more spirits that wish to stay and try to peacefully live in the human world. Zohei reiterates that it is their job as members of the Sonoma clan to listen to what they have to say and guide them accordingly. But instead of peacefully getting them, Hyoma beats up all Tsukumogamis he encounters, every single time, without fail. He doesn't even ask if they want to be sealed or not. Zohei asks him if he is trying to start a war. However, Hyoma just reiterates that he wants to get rid of all Tsukumogamis. He still believes that what he's doing is not wrong, since they don't know when the Tsukumogamis might start attacking them. As such, it is more dangerous to handle them carelessly. With these statements, the memory of his siblings getting killed by a murderous Tsukumogami resurfaces in Hyoma's mind. Zohei asks if Hyoma still bears a grudge against all Tsukumogamis, which Hyoma says yes without hesitation. Zohei observes that his grandson is too caught up in it, but he still believes that Hyoma can get over it someday. But since his grandson doesn't listen to him, he will do things in a much more forceful manner. He then picks up his phone and calls someone again. After his call, he asks Hyoma if he knows what exceptions are. Although Hyoma hasn't met one before, Hyoma explains that exceptions are Tsukumogamis who get some degree of freedom in exchange for following some conditions. Zohei then tells him that he just had a phone call with an exception, and she's not alone. They live as a family with other Tsukumogamis while following their master, who is a human. Hyoma is surprised to learn that Tsukumogamis and humans can live together. His grandfather then orders Hyoma that starting the day after tomorrow, Hyoma is going to live with them, under the guise of being their chaperone. His grandfather warns him that if he keeps going down his violent path, he'll end up destroying himself. As such, he has to change his behavior, and if he refuses to go, he will be disowned out of the Sonome clan. Left with no choice, Hyoma goes to his room and packs his things. In his mind, he still can't accept a peaceful Tsukumogami. If every Tsukumogami could be talked to just like that, then all is well. But as long as the possibility of them attacking exists, doesn't it make more sense to eliminate them before they can cause any damage? With these thoughts running through his mind, he glances at a photo of himself and his older siblings and packs the photo in his bag. When the appointed day comes, Hyoma sets out to go to his new home. Before he leaves, Zohei informs his grandson that the master of the Nagatsuki family who will take care of him is a girl named Botan, who is about the same age as Hyoma. Zohei believes that living with them will be a significant learning experience for his grandson. They are rare Tsukumogamis who have been living together with humans for a long time. By living with them, his grandfather hopes that Hyoma will discover himself. Meanwhile, on top of a building, a battle between Tsukumogamis is taking place. Two Tsukumogamis in black suits are fighting a larger Tsukumogami. The two Tsukumogamis in black suits are Suzuri, a boy with ashy brown hair, and Yu, a prim, quiet girl with black hair. After defeating the larger Tsukumogami, the Tsukumogami asks the two why they are hunting their own kind, but they nonchalantly reply that it is what they do for a living and seal the enemy. Meanwhile, another team is jumping around buildings and heading back to the house. The two are Kagami, a cute purple-haired girl, and Nagi, a boisterous, rowdy guy with black, messy hair. Hyoma has reached the household where he will now spend the next few months living in. After entering the gate, two individuals meet him in front of the house. They are Kaori, a bespectacled, smart-looking woman with blonde hair, and Kushige, a huge man with a white mohawk and beard. Kaori reintroduces herself and tells Hyoma that she is the one tasked with taking care of the house at the moment. Hyoma recognizes the two as Tsukumogami and immediately feels something is fishy. He asks where Botan Nagatsuki is, but Kaori informs him that Botan is currently at school since she is still a student. At that moment, the other members of the Nagatsuki family arrive. Hyoma suddenly finds himself surrounded by Tsukumogami wearing black suits. Kagami apologizes for being late, but Suzuri observes that Hyoma also just seemingly arrived. Yu deduces that Botan forgot that Hyoma is coming and probably went to college as usual. Meanwhile, Nagi asks if the guy standing before them is Kunado's problem child. With the ensemble complete, Kaori welcomes Hyoma to their family and hopes that he enjoys his stay. Before moving, Hyoma wants to make things clear. He declares that he hates Tsukumogami. They make themselves look human only to deceive humans and play them for fools. For this deception, he can't trust them. However, This confuses Suzuri, who points out that aren't they doing the whole living thing together so that they can better understand each other. But Hyoma just tells them that there is no need for them to welcome him since he would just be watching them from the sides while he's there. Nagi tells him he's too gloomy and asks if he is just taking out his resentment on them. However, Hyoma retorts, "How can I know that you guys aren't planning on taking advantage of the Botan girl?" Hyoma's accusation-like question makes all the Tsukumogami's eyes flash in anger. Nagi asks Hyoma to take back his words, but Hyoma just smirks at him and rejects his request. Out of nowhere, a blinding fist appears in front of Hyoma, but he successfully blocks it with his bag. Still, Hyoma is sent flying by Nagi's punch. Nagi tells the others not to interfere in their fight, while Hyoma calmly readies himself, recognizing just from Nagi's punch that his opponent now is used to combat. The two start clashing, while Kaori allows the fight to continue since they're probably just playing around. Meanwhile, Nagi manifests two Japanese katans in his hands. He promises not to kill Hyoma and uses the blunt sides of his blades. Tsukumogamis have the ability to turn part of their bodies into the object they possess. Since Nagi had transformed and assumed an offensive stance, Hyoma now considers Nagi a threat to humans. However, since the Tsukumogamis are still connected to a human master, Hyoma promises them that he won't break them. Hyoma's cocky yet confident promise just makes Nagi smile and start attacking. Unfortunately, the tips of his sword suddenly get cut off when he attempts to slash Hyoma. Moreover, instead of the sword tips breaking, they just magically disappear. Hyoma had used the power of the Guardian Infinitas. It is the power that was granted to the Sonome clan that makes Tsukumogamis disappear. This just piques Nagi's curiosity more and takes a stance to once again attack Hyoma, who is now armed with his magical discs. The battle commences once more. The others are shocked that Hyoma can fight on par with Nagi, but they recognize that both of them aren't yet showing their full capabilities. While the two are fighting, Yu suddenly receives a text from their master Botan, stating that she's skipping her classes and coming home right now. Kagami tries to shout out at the boys to stop their fight, but Nagi just shouts at her back that their master is almost home. Kaori decides that desperate times call for desperate measures and orders the others to stop the two guys from fighting. Unfortunately, Kaori, Yu, Suzuri, and Kagami all attack Hyoma, sending him crashing to the ground, while no one tries to stop Nagi. Nagi felt bad for Hyoma, while Hyoma just states that he really can't trust Tsukumogamis. Botan Nagatsuki finally arrives and sees Hyoma lying down on the ground. They greet each other, and Botan scolds the Tsukumogamis who are guilty looking away. Thus, the Tsukumogami is their human monster, and the boy who wholeheartedly detests them starts their